Joining us now on the Megacast is Peggy Burkhart. She is the Executive Director of the National Bone Marrow Transplant Transport Link and joins us on today's edition of the Megacast. Peggy, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, tell us a little bit about yourself and the background of your organization as well.
Sure. So I've been the Executive Director of the National Bone Marrow Transplant Link for 7.5 years now. But we actually began in 1992. So we're celebrating 30 years this year of linking and curing and helping patients throughout the bone marrow stem cell transplant journey. The link was started in 1992 by a woman named Myra Jacobs, who saw that there was an unmet need for patients, caregivers, even healthcare professionals needing support, psychosocial, emotional, and even educational support as it relates to the bone marrow stem cell transplant journey. Because as we know, just because you get a transplant doesn't mean that this is over. It's a whole new normal, a whole new life for people. And we support them throughout the entire journey before, during, and after.
It's just how common is it in the medical community for someone to need a bone marrow transplant or to need some additional stem cells that maybe they're not able to produce in their own body to treat certain medical issues?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, it's not super common, but transplant does save lives. I don't have the statistic in front of me, but probably 50,000 people get transplanted a year, something like that. So it's happening. It's happening often in the different disease states that warrant a transplant. Now, of course, there are thanks to clinical trials sometimes, there are other ways people can get cured or in remission. There's CAR T cell therapy that is very, very popular right now. And it's a game changer. It's making a huge difference for people. We're actually doing a season we do podcasts, and we're releasing season 8 tomorrow, and it's all about clinical trials. And it's incredible to think the lives that are saved because of clinical trials. And there are even drugs like Levac that are out because of a clinical trial that sometimes make a transplant not even necessary. So there's many solutions to many disease states.
Going back to just kind of the initiator here, you need, in order to provide these transplants and to provide these stem cells, you need donors. And when you think about blood donation or plasma donation, there are certain requirements that people have to be able to check off in order for their blood or their plasma to be able to be donated. Is that the case also with bone marrow?
Yes, there's Be the Match, DKMS, wonderful groups that have donor databases. What I don't think people realize is, and I didn't realize this till I took the job, the golden marrow, the best marrow, is actually younger people, males in particular, college age, in their 20s. By the time you are in your mid 40s, most of the time you're uneligible to be a bone marrow donor. So it's really important that young people step up because for someone, it's a needle in a haystack. I mean, in a donor database of hundreds of thousands, there could be just one person that is the perfect match for you or near perfect match. And finding that person is so important. And when there's not a strong donor database, especially among minorities, it's very difficult to find a match. So I really encourage people. It's so easy today. It's a cheek swab. I did it when I was much younger. I was never called, but I wished I had been. I would have loved to have, even before I was involved in this cause. Solid organ transplant was my background. So I was always about the gift of life, but I wish I would have gotten the opportunity to help someone in just this unbelievable way. So I encourage people to, just take that simple step. I think now you can even get a swab sent in the mail to you, and you could, do a cheek swab at home. So it's very easy. And I believe free.
So Peggy, this is a different process than when you're donating your blood or your plasma, whereas you may sign up and go to this appointment, do a pre-appointment checklist, and then go through and make that donation. This is a little bit different of a process. Like you said, you do that test with the initial swab, and then you may or may not get called down the line to actually make that donation. Just how common is among those that sign up for any of these bone marrow transplant registries to potentially be able to be a donor? How often, what percentage do you know, or how often, how commonly are people being called from that registry to donate their bone marrow, given, as you said, that finding matches can be a little bit tougher than with just a few blood types?
I'm honestly not sure of the number, and I wouldn't want to guess, but I know that it takes a lot of people being on a registry to be able to accommodate the need. So the secret is having high numbers. And, we have so many recipients that take the time. I just interviewed a gentleman for my podcast who, while he, Army major, gave him 3 years to live. While he was in the 3 years figuring out, the best treatment, he just started doing drives, and he's African American. So he signed up thousands and thousands of people. So while he was waiting for his own life to be saved, we joked, we have no idea how many lives he might have saved just by all the drives that he did, because he felt like he needed to do something. So that's pretty incredible.
We're joined by Peggy Burkhart on today's edition of the Megacast. She's the executive director of the National Bone Marrow Transport Link. Joining us on today's show, you can find more information on their website, mbmtlink.org, mbmtlink.org, for more information and for info on resources as well. Beyond just encouraging donation and helping people facilitate getting themselves on the registry or even donating their bone marrow or stem cells, what other resources are provided through your organization, especially for those that may be in need of some of these donations or these medical services that involve those donations?
So we really take care of the mental and emotional needs and educational of the patient before, during, and after, and the caregiver. We have books. We just updated our caregiver book that's very popular, and most of the major transplant centers order our books. So we have books, we have webinars, we have a monthly lunch and learn that is the third Wednesday of every month for an hour. Everybody calls in. It's free. Everything's free except for our books. Of course, we have the Marrow Mastered podcasts, and we started a new program this year called Coffee Clutch. So because of COVID, we felt people really needed more interaction with people that were going through the same thing they were going through. So we do these Zoom format coffee clutches where people can hop on and they get to talk to other people that have gone through the same thing they've gone through, whether they're a caregiver, a survivor, or a graft versus host disease survivor. And they get to have this camaraderie. It's very, very heartwarming. We send them a special gift in the mail, thanks to our sponsors. And for an hour and a half, they end up consoling each other, building each other up, sharing ideas, answering questions. And the feedback we get is, it was just so amazing to be with people who understand what I'm going through. So we're really, really proud of our programs. Our podcasts are going to hit 15,000 downloads this week once we release our new season tomorrow. And we just try to listen to our constituents and see what the unmet needs are and get them the information they need. Survivorship is not for wusses. It's they get through the transplant, they get their life saved, and then they have to really think long and hard about how to live their new normal. And we're there for them to support them every step of the way.
You can get your updated caregiver's guide for bone marrow and stem cell transplant from this organization by visiting their website, nbmtlink.org, nbmtlink.org, to find more information. We're joined by Peggy Burkhart. She is the executive director of the National Bone Marrow Transport Link, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. Peggy, you mentioned that you were in kind of adjacent fields or nearby fields within medicine before you got involved in this organization. But what ultimately led you to directing this organization and the role that you're currently in?
So I found out about this job. I was having coffee with a dear friend who said, "Hey, did you see that there was a job posting?" And as soon as I read it and I saw what I would be able to do, again, the gift of life, going from solid organ transplant, public relations and marketing, running a coalition for organ recipients to now, and donor families, and now to get to go and work in the same arena, but yet different. Move over to cancer and blood cancers and lymphomas and get to learn about all that. And we're national. Actually, we're international because our programs can be accessed internationally, our lunch and learns, et cetera, our podcasts. So we are so proud to be able to help people really across the globe. And we're headquartered in Michigan. A wonderful woman named, like I've said earlier, Myra Jacobs started the link because she had a friend who was going to be going out west for a transplant. She had a little girl back in 1992-ish, and she had no support. So Myra said, hey, we need to create an organization that will support people throughout this journey of theirs. So I am honored to carry the torch and continue Myra's work in our 30th year.
Yeah, 30 years, this organization, founded in 1992. You mentioned that a couple of times, that this is a big anniversary year for your organization. How is your organization going about celebrating that? And not only that, but also extending that outreach in the community so more people know about all these different resources that are available to those in need of these transplants and stem cell treatments, and also to those that may be interested in becoming a donor or registering to become a donor down the line?
Well, we're going to have some, small parties and celebrations. But one of the things we've done that's been really neat throughout the year is we've asked people for their pearls of wisdom in our newsletters. We've asked people to share what do you wish you knew? What do you wish someone would have told you if you were a newbie about to get a transplant? And this sharing has been really incredible. We've been able to take these pearls of wisdom and share them on social media, share them in our newsletter, share them on our website. And we feel that is our gift back to people, just to have the wisdom of others that have walked that road, and they can, let others know it's going to be okay. And we have a great peer support program. So if anybody ever wants to talk to a peer, our licensed social worker, Jennifer Gillette, does an awesome job buddying up people if they ever want to talk to someone. And we also offer through Jen one-on-one counseling sessions free of charge, where they can talk to a licensed therapist about what's going on, what's on their mind. So that's pretty neat that, people just so they know, you can reach out to info@mbmtlink.org anytime, and we will find the right person for you to talk to.
Well, Peggy, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us and telling us more about your organization, all the services and the resources that are available to people in all different situations throughout our local area and around the country and the world.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.